Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Ken Bone Show. This is episode number 29, yet another prime number episode. Boy, do I ever love math. With me, as always, my good friend Josh Burkett up in the great frozen north. How you doing this week, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing extremely well. It is much cooler in my office because I don't have any of the computer equipment running right now. Haven't needed it for the last week or so, and we had to shut it off to do some hardware maintenance. Now, without all those computers running in the server cabinet, it's only 70 degrees in my office instead of 90, so that's very nice.
Nice.
So work's going great for me as long as I can keep doing stuff that doesn't require me to start that system back up. As soon as I have to start it back up, which I will tomorrow, it'll start being hot again. It's finals week up in the land of cold there, which I guess is not ideal for you.
I just, probably about 20 minutes before this, submitted my final paper. Thank God. Nice. I'm done. So I might be extra bumbly and dumb and stuttery during tonight's recording because my brain wants to leak out my ears. But I'm done, baby.
What's your thesis on that paper? What's this one about?
Oh, it was I didn't get to choose it, which was unfortunate. But it's it's the theme of God's commands throughout all of the Bible. So Old Testament, New Testament. I went a little colored outside the theological lines on this one, so to speak. I'm like, it's my last paper. What are they going to do now?
Very nice.
So, yeah.
Maybe next week we'll debut the Josh's Philosophy segment. You can tell us a little more about it.
I don't know, man. But yeah, sure, if you want.
I love the theological perspective, and I don't care if people listen to the show. I do care. Please listen to the show.
Please listen to the show.
I'll
make it funny.
All of them. We'll do our best.
All of them. Give money.
But all of that, so you can go to cocktail parties and feel superior to all your friends because you know more about philosophy and theology than they do. All thanks to Josh.
Oh, there you go.
You can thank him for that.
You're welcome.
Because that is the essence of religion. You write a paper on that. Feeling better than other people. If that's the essence of your religion, you're in the wrong one. But I have been to a few services where it seemed like that was the theme, and I started going someplace else. All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and jump into the news this week. Oh boy, is there ever a lot of news. And of course, the number one news item of the week, unless of course a war has started since this recording, is the U.S. is pulling out of the Iran deal. Oh my good Lord, the world is coming to an end. War is definitely starting today. Iran is going to take all those nuclear missiles that they don't have and launch them at us immediately because we pulled out of the Iran deal. Except, of course, none of that stuff is going to happen. I actually think that staying in the Iran deal probably would have been the better move at this point. Stay in your deal until you can negotiate a better one. Stay at your job until you can find a better one. That kind of mentality. But I hated the deal in the first place. And it's not that I hated all the details of the deal, although I did hate a lot of them, like the expiry dates on the more critical provisions of the deal. What I hated about it was that it was a broad overreach of executive power again. So this is another thing that we're seeing. Obama kind of lived by the executive order, and now the Obama legacy is dying by the executive order. When Congress won't run anything through, and they won't because Congress is terrible. That's been the focus of almost every freaking episode of this show. Congress is terrible. When they won't do their job, then the executive branch does it, and then the next executive comes along and can just undo 4 years or 8 years worth of work with the stroke of a pen. That's exactly what we're seeing here. So Obama couldn't get the Senate to run through this international agreement, which I think is atrocious. All international agreements should be treated as treaties, especially important ones like this, and treaties need the ratification of the Senate, and then we wouldn't be in this mess. We wouldn't have a single person who is able to pull you back out of that deal. We would have a treaty that would need to be discussed by Congress before it could be altered or renegotiated. But of course, Congress sucks. They didn't do that. It was the same thing with the climate accords when we pulled out of those. If Congress actually had any spine or any will to serve the American people, they would have made that a treaty. They would have treated it as if it was a treaty here in the U.S., ratified it by the Senate, instead of just having it signed by the executive branch and we wouldn't have been able to pull straight out of it, whether Trump wanted to or not. But since we didn't do that, we left it open. In fact, the Iran deal is even worse for that because it has to be recertified every 3 months. Every 3 months, the president has to decide, am I going to abide by this deal or am I going to break it? So now, like the 6th time that's rolled around for President Trump, he said, you know what, I'm tired of this, hell with it. Not doing it anymore. The deadline was like 3 days from now. The deadline, I think, was on the day this episode's going to drop. So just a couple days before the deadline, he says, you know what, I've always hated this deal. I campaigned on hating this deal. I'm not going to sign it again. I'm yanking it. So I can't believe anybody's surprised. This is what he said he was going to do, and this is what we left ourselves open to by not demanding congressional action before.
So Ken, you're saying that we at one time inserted ourselves into Iran, and now we are pulling out of Iran.
We're pulling out of Iran, and the byproduct of that pullout is going to land all over the Middle East in hot, steamy droplets.
I didn't go there. I'm just saying.
Well, audience, you're really glad you had video for that one, aren't you? Yeah.
You took it dirty, man. I was just trying to give a very simplistic overview how we essentially screwed Iran, metaphorically speaking, and now we're pulling out of the deal. I'm not making any...
We screwed them and pulled out. But, you know,
right.
we didn't promise them in the beginning that we weren't going to pull out either. We didn't
That's a good point.
Give them proper assurances that we weren't going to pull out. Iran did not force us to use the proper protection.
And there's a lot of overreach.
You know,
and
some responsibility does reside with the... God, that's dirty. Okay. So Iran, of course, responded extremely rationally to this. The reason we got in this deal in the first place is because the Iranian government is supposed to be getting more moderate. They're very moderate, and they're open to this kind of international agreement. They're open to working with the United States more. And then minutes after this was announced, on the floor of Parliament in Iran, they burned an American flag and were chanting, "Death to America." That's moderate as...
That's moderate.
That's the most moderate thing I ever heard. Death to America. We're going to take all those nukes that we promised we weren't building that Israel says we actually were, and we're going to shoot them at you or your allies, or sell them to terrorists, or give them, or stuff them in children's bags and have them blow up at JFK Airport or something. Yeah.
Great.
Because Iran is, very upstanding. Now, the international agency that oversees all this nuclear stuff, they say that Iran was abiding by the deal. They were holding up their end of the bargain. But then here comes Israel with, boxes and boxes and boxes of documents from their intelligence agency, which is one of the premier intelligence agencies in the world, says they were not. Now, this is going to reveal my bias here, but I trust Iran, or zero. I trust the international regulatory agency over all this stuff, basically zero, because they're pretty much the UN, which sucks and is garbage and is corrupt. And I trust Israel's intelligence a lot. Love Israel or hate them, their intelligence agency is incredible at what they do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think Iran was playing by the rules. And, I wouldn't have pulled out of this deal if I was Trump. I would have stuck in it and tried to force a renegotiation before pulling out. But Trump is Trump. He does what he does.
So what's some of the for our uneducated or people that are apathetic listeners, what are some of the things that the main points of the deal that we are pulling out of?
Well, Iran had to promise that they wouldn't enrich any uranium beyond 4% enrichment, which is not strong enough to make nuclear weapons. It's only strong enough to make nuclear power plants, which, okay, as long as they were abiding by that, that's great. That means they can't make a conventional nuclear weapon. It does mean that they can make dirty bombs of all kinds, but they can't make a conventional nuclear weapon that works, as long as they're not getting away with anything. That part of the deal to me seems stupid, when we could have countered by saying, why don't you build a thorium reactor instead, that it's basically impossible to make bombs out of, given the current state of your technology, and we'll help you with that, and you can't use uranium at all. That's what I would have told them. But hey, I'm not the people that sell the uranium. They have a lot to do with these international politics.
Interesting.
There was no provision preventing them from developing international ballistic missiles or intercontinental ballistic missiles. The kinds of things you'd use to deliver a weapon of this magnitude. That's what most people hated the most about the deal, is that there was nothing stopping Iran from developing better, longer-range missiles. So as soon as all of these parts of the deal that are preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon expire, which they do in about 10 years, they can just pull all that stuff off the shelf, enrich the uranium, toss a bomb in one of these missiles they've been developing, and launch it that same day. So that's what a lot of people hated about it. So the enrichment was probably the most important part. There's random inspections that they have to allow to their enrichment facilities, to their nuclear facilities, all that kind of stuff. Pretty standard agreements on that. They also collected a ton of money from the United States. Lots of money, which they've basically given to Hezbollah so that Hezbollah can shoot rockets at Israel. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, screw Hezbollah. Definitely. Iran can suck a whole big one, given their behavior towards Israel. Once again, showing my bias on that. I'm not the most conservative guy in the world, but when you start talking Israel, I'm definitely pro-Israel, and Iran can eat a big old chode compared to Israel.
I feel like this is kind of his MO, like, to use an analogy. Somebody has kind of a janky car that's broken and they want to get a new one. They'll keep the old car for a bit or get it fixed until they can find something reasonable. But Trump seems to just ram the thing into the wall, total it, and then go, all right, we need a new car. Why not gradually get there?
Absolutely. That's a great analogy for Trump. He's like, yeah, this Acura is not really suiting me anymore. I kind of want a Lamborghini, so I'm going to set my Acura on fire.
I'm just going to set on fire. You're fired, Acura.
You're fired with matches and gasoline. But yeah, that is pretty much what he's done here. The Iran deal wasn't the best deal in the world. We didn't like it that much. Iran didn't like it that much either. Usually that's the mark of a compromise, that both sides feel like they got screwed. But of course, we're like 1,000,000 times more powerful than Iran, so it seems like in an international deal, we should probably be getting the bigger end of the stick. Like, we are the ones who should come away from an international deal saying, like, man, we really broke it off in their ass, but we definitely didn't do that. I don't think we pushed hard enough this time. I would have rather seen a new deal first. Like, go to Iran and say, look, I will not recertify this after December. That's your date. I'm going to quit hemming and hawing about, am I going to pull out of the deal? Am I not going to pull out of the deal? I'm just trying to distract from Stormy Daniels and her story or whatever. I'm just going to say, I'll recertify it 2 more times, and then at the end of this year, I won't recertify it anymore. That's my guarantee. I promise you, I'm not recertifying it anymore. You can negotiate a better deal, or it can be over entirely, and throw the ball into their court instead of what Trump has done, which is kind of just pulled the rug out from under the whole thing. So hey, what are you going to do? And of course, the deal now, it looks like it's extremely popular among basically everybody who doesn't like Trump. Everybody thinks the deal was the best thing in the world, even though they all hated it when it was being put through and wouldn't vote for it, which is why it didn't get ratified by the Senate, which is why it could be broken so easily. People like Chuck Schumer. I have very little respect for Senator Schumer. Sorry, Chuck, but you just do too much political game playing. You're no better than Mitch McConnell in my eyes at all.
Yeah.
You're the same kind of career politician, douchebag, as all the rest. And when you say, he's basically saying, we've put too much into the deal. We can't stop now. We've put too much into it. Okay, well, that's just the sunk cost fallacy. You were arguing a couple years ago that the deal's no good and it sucks. Now, we've put too much into it. Okay, well, why should we keep throwing bad money or bad will after good? Why should we keep doing it? I realize that it doesn't cost us a lot more monetarily, but if you don't think the deal is a good deal, why are you so upset that we pulled out of it? I think we should be speaking more about the way that we pulled out of it, kind of like we already described.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, on the other end of the spectrum, eventually that Acura is going to cost way more to fix than to keep it running. and you're going to need something new. So let's take a middle ground between these two extremes here.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that exact situation. I had a van, a white panel van. I bet you never would have guessed that, viewers, that a face like this one had a white panel van.
I didn't know this.
In fact, it not only was a white panel van, but the sliding door didn't function properly. You could not open it from the inside. It made it even creepier. I swear to you, this is true. It did not open properly, and the handle was broken off of the outside. So I kept a drumstick, like an extra drumstick from my drum set, crammed into the hole where the handle used to be, and you could pull that drumstick out and push it through the hole where the handle used to be, hit the latching mechanism inside the door, and then you cram it back into the hole and use the drumstick to pull the door open. It was mega ghetto. Well, anyway, the thing had like super worn out suspension and super worn out drivetrain. It would not hold an alignment. Like you could have a computer alignment done on the wheels, and it would go out of alignment in like a couple of days. And because of that, all the tires would ride on edge, and it ate up tires. And these tires were expensive because it was an old car or an old van, and the tires were kind of rare, like they weren't a stock on newer cars. Well, after it ate up like 3 sets of tires, it became obvious that this is going to continue to happen forever. I can't afford to keep replacing tires. So now I need to ride these tires until the steel radials are showing and start putting that tire money away for a down payment for a car that doesn't suck so bad. And that's when I got my 1994 Toyota Corolla with the broken heater, which was also an amazing vehicle. It was the last one I had that was a stick shift. Super sweet. Had like 250,000 miles on it. Still ran great.
Ken, are you sure the suspension wasn't going out because it was your shaggin' wagon? You know, just the Virgin Slayer full-size van. You had a mattress in the back.
I'm relatively sure of that. I mean, you never know if there was like some Cosby stuff happening and I didn't remember all the shagging, but I don't think my wife would do that to me.
Ah, okay.
I don't think she needs to do that to me. Also, that would be gross and weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough talk about my creepy van. On to the next story, which is, again, talking about Israel and Iran. We're talking about Israel versus Iran, but of course they're not fighting in Israel or Iran. They're fighting in Syria. So, Israel launched some airstrikes just today that smashed a whole bunch of hardware and killed a bunch of Iranians at Iranian military installations in Syria. So how did we get to this point? You know, the Middle East is such a tangled freaking web. A lot of people probably aren't aware of how nuts it is, and you know, why are we fighting in Syria versus Iran and Israel, all this. I'll give you the short version because I'm not a scholar, but this is the simplest we can do. So first off, is this because of the pullout of the nuclear deal by Donald Trump? No, it's not. It didn't help. It didn't help ease the tension, but it is not why this happened. And that's not just me saying that. That is former United States Ambassador to Israel, Martin Indyk, who was a Clinton appointee, saying that. So that's, you know, not like, oh, a super conservative Ken who swears he's not a conservative. You know, no, this was, you know, a Clinton guy who is an expert on Israel saying, no, this was not because of the Iran pullout. It might have heaped on some tension, but this was going to happen. So here's the short version. Iran hates Israel a bunch. That's a given. Syria and Lebanon are closer to Israel than Iran is. In fact, Syria and Lebanon both border Israel. Lebanon to the north and Syria to the northeast. So Iran funds and gives lots of money to Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a political minority party in Lebanon, and one of their stated goals is getting rid of Israel. Boy, do they ever hate some Israel. They do not like the Jews, Hezbollah. They're essentially a terrorist organization that's been legitimized as a political party. And it'd take a lot to convince me that that's not the case. I'm sure there are some people listening to that and be like, oh no, you're full of crap, and Palestine forever, and Hezbollah is great. No, you're never going to convince me of that. Hezbollah is terrible. Hezbollah sucks. They hate Jews, and they do bad things. So Iran gives money to Hezbollah. Hezbollah also operates outside of Lebanon. Like, they're based in Lebanon, they're a political party in Lebanon, but they do activities outside of Lebanon as well. Iran gives money and weapons to Hezbollah. They set up rockets and forward bases and defensive checkpoints in Syria to use them against Israel. So remember, Syria is right there on the Israeli border. So from these bases in Syria, Hezbollah, backed by Iran, is able to lob rockets into Israel, into what is that? There is that that's the Golan Heights. Yeah, that's the Golan Heights there on the northeast. I'm pretty sure. Geography is not my strong suit, but I'm relatively sure that that's the Golan Heights there that you can reach from Syria with rockets. So they did a whole bunch of this. They just launched a whole bunch of rockets into Israel from Syria, and Israel said, nope, we don't play that. In fact, their quote was, if it rains in Israel, it will pour in Iran. So they sent a whole bunch of military strikes, a whole bunch of air strikes, and basically wiped out a ton of these checkpoints and forward bases. And a bunch of Iranians were killed. About 28 Iranian military members were killed. So we've essentially had a Cold War for the last 20 years. And like the hottest part of it was in February, Iran flew a drone that breached Israeli airspace. Well, the Israelis smoked it, like, immediately, because they don't play that game. Now they're sending over rockets, and Israel comes over and smokes all those rocket bases, too, because they don't play that. So what has been a Cold War for 20 years is now turning into a hot war pretty quick. There is the chance that by the time we release this, it'll be an actual shooting match, a real war between Iran and Lebanon and Israel. It probably won't, because Iran knows that Israel can whip their butt real bad, and they don't want to draw every country in the region into it, because Turkey would get into it, Lebanon would get into it, Russia backs a lot of these countries. They get drawn into it. If Russia comes into it, the U.S. comes into it, and none of those countries actually want that, because if you start like World War III, and like, you don't want to start it in your yard. You know, like, if I'm going to start a rumble in my whole neighborhood, I'm not going to go out my front door with a sign that says all kinds of horrible stuff about my neighbors and invite them to my yard to all have a big fight, because then my house gets torn up. I'm going to go knock on my neighbor's door and start shit over there, and we're going to tear up his house. So Iran's not stupid. Some of the Iranian leadership are crazy. They're not stupid. They're not going to start a war in their own backyard if they can help it. So hopefully they're doing something to de-escalate this now, but today looks pretty shaky. So what are the good points of this? The good points of this is, screw you, Iran. You suck really bad because you hate Jews, and you're terrible to your own people, and now you want to be terrible to other people, and you want to use Syria as some kind of proxy to hide behind Syrian civilians so that you can perpetrate your war against Israel. What's bad about it is that Syria has suffered enough. Syria, like all those refugees that we're always talking about, most of them are coming from Syria, because we got the rebellion going on there against Assad. We got all this stuff going on. And there's millions of people displaced from their homes in Syria. And any further conflict is going to start in Syria, because it's that border country, and it's where Iran has chosen to stage their weapons. And it's only going to devastate the Syrian people. It's not going to punish Iran. Or at the very least, it's not going to punish Iran first. It's going to punish Syria first, and those people have suffered enough. So,
right.
Really hope that we can do some talking and get out of this rather than some more shooting.
And good God, they consider themselves moderate.
Yeah, they're extremely moderate. Like, I say I'm moderate, I actually mean it. They say they're moderate, they mean death to America! According to their parliament. I'm not talking about the people out on the street. People out on the street can say whatever they want to say. Actually, in Iran, you can't say whatever you want to say. Say whatever you want to say, you might get locked up in jail forever. But I don't care what they say out on the street in Iran. I do care what they say in the parliament. And when the parliament, when their representatives, their equivalent of Congress, is saying death to America, it's not moderate. It's anti-American, and it's stupid to do anything to help them, essentially.
Right.
Anyway, we've talked about the Middle East enough. It's a good thing I'm not in charge of the Middle East situation, or else it'd really be screwed up beyond recognition. Now let's talk about someplace much, much nicer, North Korea. So, North Korea, there were 3 prisoners over in North Korea, American citizens that were being held by the North Korean government, and Trump kind of wagged his fist a little bit, and they've been released. So they just came home today and got to do the handshakes on the runway, and yeah, good for them. They're free, and now President Trump's going to be going to talk directly to Kim Jong-un for the first time ever, and they're going to meet in Singapore on June 12th. So I hope that goes well. I really hope it does not become a pissing match between 2 bullies who have access to nuclear weapons. Which, I mean, but that's unlikely, is definitely possible.
I mean, I may be really stupid for saying this because of it might sound like naive optimism, but with the way North Korea has been a little nicer and more open to negotiate lately, maybe this is a good thing.
Well, I think it's definitely a good thing. And I think what North Korea is seeing here is a couple of things have shifted in the last 10 or 15 years. Is that North Korea no longer has the unquestioned backing from China that they used to have, because China needs the U.S. U.S. needs China, and China needs the U.S. Without our partnership economically, both of our economies collapse. And it would remain to be seen who could survive that better. Probably China, but it would devastate both countries. So whenever North Korea wants to do their saber rattling and say how America sucks, China used to be like, yeah, you say whatever you want, Kim. I don't care. Yeah, America sure does suck because they're capitalists and we're communists. But now China is more of a highly regulated form of capitalism. It's socialism that borders on capitalism. It's not free market, but they do depend very, very much on foreign trade. They're like the manufacturing center of the world.
Right.
So they can't afford to screw up their deals and their trade with other countries, and they're not going to stick up for North Korea anymore. North Korea used to be the weird kid in class, and China was like kind of the loner that would stick up for the weird kid. Well, now the loner's mom and dad got a better job, and he's got like preppier clothes, and he's got a nicer lifestyle, and he can't afford to get kicked out of school. Like, he's got a cheerleader for a girlfriend. He can't afford to be seen to be sticking up for the weirdo kid when the weirdo kid is threatening to stab South Korea with a protractor. You can't really do that anymore. And
that's the
US
most freaking brilliant.
Yeah, and the U.S. has also changed. Like, South Korea is the cute little girl in the corner of the classroom that everybody likes and wants to protect, except North Korea, who wants to stab her. And then the U.S. used to be like the big tough jock with the Letterman's jacket, who would say, like, you're not going to do nothing to South Korea because we're sweet on her and we like her. Well, now the U.S. isn't that big jock anymore. Now the U.S. is a bigger, crazier kid. Thanks to Donald Trump. Now the U.S. is a little unbalanced. Like, he lost his football scholarship because he screwed up his shoulder.
Yeah.
So now he's got some angst to take out on China. And he's like, you know what? China doesn't have North Korea's back anymore, and the U.S. seems more willing to punch somebody in the face. So maybe we better straighten up and fly right a little bit.
Dear God, somebody needs to make this like a short little YouTube clip or a little illustration or something. Brilliant.
No, definitely. I am. But yeah, things are looking up in the Korean theater, so that'll be nice. They're talking about officially ending the war. Like, the Korean War, there was never a treaty at the end. They just stopped fighting and created the demilitarized zone at the 38th parallel in between. Now they're talking about signing an agreement and saying, the war is actually over. That's incredible. Right. That is a really huge step.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Back on the U.S. front in politics, Don Blankenship, who he was running for the Republican nomination for the Senate in West Virginia, and God help me, I wish he'd won, because he is so insane. So this guy just got out of jail He went to jail because he was like the CEO of a mining company, and a bunch of guys got killed in the coal mine thanks to the negligence of the company. So he went to prison, which, good. If your negligence leads to people getting killed at work, you should get punished for that. Well, he got out and decided, you know what, I'm going to run for the Senate. And he made some of the greatest campaign ads I've ever seen. It's just him, and he looks like Super Mario went on a bender and just had a couple of really bad weeks, and then he got home and Princess Peach had left him. And he sounds so flat and defeated. Like, he looks like me if I did a whole bunch of heroin and then quit, and kind of cleaned my life up, but it fried my brain.
I gotta look this guy up. I've never seen this before.
He's just older and blanker and duller than me. But he stands there on camera and he's like, I'm running for Senate in West Virginia. I'm going to take on Cocaine Mitch and get him out of office. Cocaine Mitch's China family has gotten rich off of his work in the Senate. And I'm like, holy shit, China family? And then he's talking about how Mitch McConnell depends on China people. I'm like, that's not what we call China people. And at first I thought, like, man, that is super racist and you are weird. And then when he was referring to West Virginians, he was calling them West Virginia people. I was like, well, maybe he's just dumb and slow. And he just refers to people. He's like, West Virginia people and Virginia people should get along better.
Oh.
United
and this guy lost?
People have funny accents. Yeah, he lost in the primary. I was so sad. Like, it was a bummer. And then President Trump, who, credit to President Trump where it's due, was actually saying, hey, don't vote for this guy. This guy sucks. He's an idiot. He did call the guy and tell him, like, hey, you ran a good race, but you suck and you're dumb. Please don't run again. You're bad for the party. Yeah.
Please stop trying to be one of the Senate people.
Yeah, the Senate people. I'm running to be your West Virginia Senate person. The guy's just such a bizarre weirdo that I would have loved to see him run, but then I'm scared he would have won. Like, won the real race. And of course we can't have that. We don't need like a Roy Moore. Look the guy's picture up online. I don't have the video editing skills to throw it on the screen right now, but you've probably seen it yourself, or listeners. Check it out. Don Blankenship. The dude looks like Mean Gene Okerlund just gave up on life.
Oh my gosh, that's the perfect
like
description.
All the fight went out of him. Let me tell you something, Mean Gene. And Mean Gene's like, I don't care about wrestling people anymore.
Man, whatever happened to Mean Gene? Is he dead?
He is still alive. He was in the Andre the Giant documentary that HBO just made. Really great documentary. You should check it out. Andre the Giant had like a really interesting and kind of sad and tragic life. And HBO did this really cool documentary about it just a month or so ago. And Mean Gene did a lot of interviews for it. The guy was cool.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Our last political story. Democrats in the Intelligence Committee in Congress have just released 3,500 Facebook ads that through their investigation they found were made by Russia to interfere with the election. And then as soon as they released those 3,500 ads, their old aunts and grandmas started sharing them around Facebook again.
Yeah. That it's funny because it's probably true.
Oh, I guarantee it. I guarantee as soon as they put that list out there, somebody saw it and they were like, "Oh, Hillary Clinton's emails! I knew it." Like, Doris, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. I still see, on the flip side, the occasional link or meme or something about Obama's birth certificate or Obama being a Muslim. I'm like, oh dear God, why are we still on this?
The first time Obama ran, way back in 2012, I guess it was. No, 2008. The first time.
2008.
Yeah, 2008, the first time. I had to have way too many conversations with people about that issue. They're like, well, Obama's not even a real American. He's a secret Muslim. I'm like, well, first, no, he's not. And secondly, yes, he is an American. Well, he wasn't even born in this country. He won't show his birth certificate. Okay, well, he was born in Hawaii, which is part of this country. You probably didn't know that because you're an idiot. And his mother was an American citizen, so even if he was born in Kenya, he'd still be an American citizen, so shut the hell up.
Right. This is a non-issue.
John McCain wasn't born in the United States either. He was born in a military base on foreign soil, but he's still an American citizen because both of his parents were American citizens. So, yeah.
Yeah, but John McCain is war hero. That's what I was trying to say. He was a war hero. Wasn't trying to say white.
The W word.
The W word.
Lord. Oh. Okay. Well, enough political news for this week. Now we're going to talk natural disaster news, because holy shit. That's all the news we got this week is dirty politics and natural disasters. So a dam in Kenya burst just today, as we're recording this on Thursday the 10th. So this dam burst and dozens of people have been killed. Very sad, huge tragedy. If you can donate to the Kenyan Red Cross, please do so. I'll see if I can dig up a link to put in the description. If I can't, Google it your damn self, please. Toss them a couple bucks. They're doing a lot to try to help over there. But there's like a 1.5 mile radius from this dam is just covered in mud and water now. A lot of people and a lot of homes are still buried. And the devastation is really terrible. So do what you can to help. At the very least, send thoughts and prayers. I don't care how many people on Twitter tell me that that's stupid and useless. It's not stupid and useless to at least think about people and hope that they get better if you can't do anything to help them get better yourself. Other natural disaster news, there is a volcano in Hawaii. Wow, who could have seen that coming?
Wait, what?
An island that is a volcano. So Kilauea is erupting in Hawaii. Now, it's been continuously erupting since the 80s, but now there are additional cracks and fissures that have opened up in residential areas. So there's like lava pouring out into subdivisions, into streets. It's not just coming out from the main crater of the volcano up in Volcano National Park. It's coming out like in your neighborhood, and it's cars are getting consumed by lava, and it's scary shit, because lava is one of the most powerful things there is. Like, when you look at how slow it goes, you think to yourself, you're like, well, you can just go out there with a garden hose and like spray it and cause it to solidify and redirect, right? Or I could dig a ditch or something, but no, you can't. If lava's coming in the direction of your house and it's going so slow that it's not going to be there for 3 days, that means you got 3 days to get the hell out or you're going to die. That's what that means. That doesn't mean you got 3 days to stop it. There's no stopping it. There is no stopping it.
Sandbags and ice cubes.
Yeah. We just need helicopters flying over and dumping water on it. No, it doesn't do shit. In fact, it can make it worse because you form a crust over the top, and if any of that water gets trapped underneath the crust, a pocket of steam forms. And steam has about 10,000 times the volume of the same amount of water, so it doesn't have anywhere to go, cause an explosion. And that's one of the main dangers that could be coming from this volcano. Since the lava is getting out in these other areas, the main crater of Kilauea has like a lava lake in it. And the level of that lake is going down because that lava is getting out someplace else. Well, as that goes down, all like underground tunnels and channels and stuff that it used to occupy, well, now they're empty. And if a heavy rain or groundwater starts seeping into those tunnels and a bunch of water rushes in, it flashes the steam, makes the tunnel explode, and now superheated glowing rock can fly out. And there were documented cases in 1924 when the same thing happened, of these rocks flying a half a mile. Well, if you get hit by one of these super hot rocks that just flew a half a mile, you're dead. Like,
right.
You're just screwed. So this disaster could get a whole lot worse. And it's one of those that there's nothing we can do about it. Like, earthquakes happen in a flash, you know? They take like 15 seconds and they're over. Tornadoes come through, they take like half an hour, then they're over. Hurricanes come through and you got a couple days notice, but when it's gone, it's over. The volcano, you don't know when it's going to stop, and you just got to stand there in your yard and be like, man, that's getting closer and closer and closer, and I better go pack up my shit.
I better, yeah.
And I don't know when it's going to stop.
You know, I'm starting to like think that Hawaii is not as, you know, grand and alluresome as I thought. It was a few months ago where they all thought they were going to die from a nuclear bomb, and then now this happens, and my word.
Yeah, they got it bad. I hope that there aren't a whole lot of people hearing like the tornado or the lava siren go off and thinking like, it's probably fake.
Yeah.
And then they get like consumed by lava. I sure hope that didn't happen to anybody. But yeah, what really sucks is a lot of these. It moves slow enough that especially since we're a rich first world country, we'll probably be able to get everybody away without anyone getting killed. Hopefully, accidents happen and bad stuff happens and unexpected things can happen. But we're hoping we can get everybody away, nobody gets killed. But everybody's losing everything. And your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover lava, even if you live next to a volcano. Lava insurance, which is a thing that I learned existed today, is so expensive that almost nobody has it. So when your house gets burned down by lava, you're not covered. You just lose everything. So that sucks.
You know that there's probably a lot of people that don't know that, and they're gonna call up Progressive and be like, "So this is covered, right?" And, "Oh no, I'm sorry, it's not."
Yeah,
that's gonna be a bad day.
Yeah, here in the Midwest, I think I am probably covered for lava, and Josh up in St. Paul is covered for lava. But we're not covered for flash floods or tornadoes unless you pay extra.
Right.
On the East Coast, they're covered for lava, and they're covered for tornadoes, but not for hurricanes. And in Hawaii, you're covered for hurricanes and tornadoes, but not for lava. That's how they get you.
That's how they get you.
Damn insurance company.
Damn guy from State Farm, Pete, or whatever his name.
Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm, Pete, whatever.
What are you wearing, Jake? Khakis. Well, I'm not wearing anything because all my shit burned up in lava, you dick.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Trump. Thanks, Obama, for setting off this lava flow.
Well, there's going to be a lot of old people, too, that do that. You see this with the floods and the tornadoes, too, maybe just the floods, where there has to be an evacuation, and then there's old people like, nope, I ain't leaving. like, you can take me with my house. I haven't left since the 80s.
This has been my home for 53 years, and I'm not going anywhere. Now, I don't want that to happen to any real-life people, because any loss of human life is terrible.
Right.
But I would pay good money to see it happen in a movie. With the stereotypical old disaster movie guy saying, I'm not leaving, I'm staying right here in my living room, and then all of a sudden his front door, there's just lava coming in, and he's just sitting on his couch, and he's like, fuck you, lava, I ain't going anywhere, until just the lava just creeps on him and just burns him up.
It'd be like the longest movie to a climax ever. Yeah, finally, it's like, well, shit.
They have to cut back to him every 20 minutes through the movie, and it's just closer, and it's closer, and then it goes over his dog, and then it's closer, and then it burns up his ottoman, and then it's closer, and then he's like, I'm not going anywhere. Dead.
End scene.
I'm going to pitch that to Hollywood now. The greatest disaster movie ever.
I mean, they've made hordes of disaster movies for every other kind of disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Why not the slow roll of lava?
Or the Tommy Lee Jones volcano movie that was set in L.A., that one was ridiculous. And it was mostly fast-moving lava, but there was that one scene, remember, in like the underground or the subway, where the fireman, if you haven't seen this movie, YouTube this scene. A fireman goes in to save a guy like on the subway, and then when he gets back out, the lava has crept out, and now it's like 8 feet past the door, and he knows he can't jump 8 feet. But they have this heroic swell of music, and like, he's going to make it. Well, he backs up with this guy over his shoulders, and he runs and he jumps, and he only makes it like 4 feet. So now he's standing in lava. And this guy should have won an Oscar, because he's got this passed out guy on his shoulders, and he's just like, my legs, lava, and then he throws the guy that he's saving, and then like Terminator. From the end of Terminator 2, he just slowly sinks into the lava, and he's gone. If he'd have given the thumbs up at the end, I would have bought another ticket to go see that movie. It was amazing.
Please tell me they used like the Wilhelm scream for him, just at one point.
Oh man, that movie.
I haven't seen that one,
but it's worth watching. Tommy Lee Jones and I want to say Anne Heche as like the volcanologist that nobody believes or whatever.
Sure.
You know, all those disaster movies come out in pairs. You know, where the disaster happens in two different movies at the same time because somebody, talked about it, and both studios started making the same movie. It came out at the same time as Dante's Peak with Pierce Brosnan back in his James Bond days, and he was a volcano guy, and his girlfriend's grandma got burned up in an acid lake in a similar horrible scene.
See, I'm glad we're past that point. We're now to real like disasters, like Sharknadoes, snakes on planes,
stuff that I'm actually scared of. Like a whole lake turning into acid, which is a real thing when a volcano happens near a lake. Whatever. I ain't scared of that shit. But a Sharknado, that keeps me up at night. I ain't never seen me a Sharknado.
Yeah.
The lava's starting to creep closer to a power plant now, a geothermal power plant. And why does that matter? Geothermal power plants just take the... There goes my son, Logan, walking past the camera. The geothermal power plants just take the heat from the ground and use it to heat up water, and then they use that water to make electricity. So why does this matter? Well, in this kind of geothermal power plant, it's called a binary cycle plant. So it's kind of like your air conditioner. Like your air conditioner has this refrigerant in it, and that's what actually gets cooled down by the fins on your unit outside the house. And then we pressurize that refrigerant, and then we let it flash back to vapor, and that vapor gets really cold because when gas expands, it gets cold. Like, you spray a hairspray can, and it starts feeling cold in your hand if you hold it down too long. We use the same thing here in this geothermal power plant so that the water doesn't have to be as hot. We use basically another medium. The water heats up this stuff, and then it flashes into vapor and spins a turbine, and then we cool it off and do it all over again. Well, this medium needs to have a really low boiling point so that it'll turn into vapor, right? Well, what has a really low boiling point? Pentane, which is kind of like butane, which is kind of like propane. And the reason I'm saying it's kind of like all those things because if it catches on fire, it's flammable. And it's highly combustible. And there are thousands and thousands of gallons of it stored at this power plant. And right now they're scrambling to get it away because if it explodes, like if the lava reaches it before they get it out, the blast radius is estimated at 1 mile. Like a nuclear weapon, basically, if all this stuff blows up at once. So, you don't want that. Like, lava rocks flying through the air be damned. I'm a lot more scared of geothermal power, which is why I'm in favor of good old-fashioned coal. I work for coal. Nothing at the coal power plant blows up and destroys a mile worth of the countryside. Anyway, that's enough talking about disasters, both political and natural today. It's time to move on to our main segment of the night, Sexual Harassment Extravaganza. This is a favorite. I love Sexual Harassment Extravaganza. Sexual Harassment Extravaganza brought to you this week by Charter Spectrum Home Internet, who you can thank for the podcast coming out at 10:30 p.m. the last 2 weeks in a row, because I didn't have the foresight to start uploading it before 1 p.m. It was a 9.5-hour upload to get my 1-hour podcast up last week. I was beyond furious. Charter Spectrum, the same company that drilled a hole from the outside of my house into my living room. I could see a drill bit come through my living room. And when I wondered, why is there a drill bit in my damn living room, I found a Charter representative trying to run a new wire from the exterior of the house straight into my living room when there was already existing wire in a junction box 2 feet away. Yes, thank you, Charter Spectrum, for bringing you the Ken Bone Zone podcast this week incredibly slowly and with terrible bit rate. You dick faces, I hate you all.
Charter Internet, slow as lava, but not nearly as cool.
That's exactly right. So in Sexual Harassment Extravaganza this week, we only have 2 Sexual Harassment Extravaganza contestants. One is a past champion coming back for the Tournament of Champions.
Ooh.
Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is the patron saint of Sexual Harassment Extravaganza, right there behind the ultimate pantheon of John F. Kennedy. So Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky both got invited to an event an event thrown by Town and Country magazine, and the theme of this party or this event was, quote, social change. Well, Monica Lewinsky got her invitation, and, you know, she's doesn't get as much mail as the former President Clinton, I'm sure, and gets it directly. So she sees the invitation, and she's like, yes, RSVP, yes, send it back. Cool, I'll be there. Well, I guess a couple days later, stuff finally makes the rounds through Bill Clinton's security or his assistant or whatever. He gets the invitation, says, yeah, definitely, I'll be there. And he checks yes and sends it back. And when Town and Country magazine says that, oh shit, both of them said they would come, well, that'd be awkward, and we definitely would rather have Bill. So they called Monica and said, no, you can't come now.
Oh, jeez.
You gotta stay home. And she was pissed. She took to Twitter to expose this ridiculousness. Like, hey, the guy that sexually harassed me, you know, while I was an intern and he was the most powerful human being on the planet, and he took sexual advantage of me. It was consensual, but it was definitely a power dynamic Weinsteinian situation. We both got invited to this event, and I don't get to go because he wants to go. That sucks big balls. So this is not Bill Clinton's fault, but it is funny.
But now I wonder if they would have, like, what they would have thought, both Bill and Monica, if they would have just gone at the same, like, if they know they would have been there, would have been awkward, would have been like, oh hey, how's it going? Maybe some romance would rekindle. I don't know, like what
mending fences. And
Yeah.
just hopefully he didn't have any cigars with him.
Yeah.
Gross.
Gross.
Ugh. And the winner of this week's sexual harassment extravaganza, Eric Schneiderman, the New York Attorney General, who is now resigned in disgrace. He might be the best sexual harassment extravaganza we've had since Weinstein himself. So this guy is an outspoken supporter of women. He's a big-time #MeToo advocate, which I would like to add that Josh and I both are as well. Ladies, you are courageous for coming forward. Thank you for doing so. And I hope that we can foster a better environment for you. Thanks to your courage, we'll help where we can without getting in your way. So Schneiderman was saying basically the same thing. In fact, 4 days before he got busted for this, here's a tweet that he sent out, a quote. Quote, 1 year before Roe v. Wade, I graduated from high school, went to Washington, D.C., and got a job working in an abortion clinic. I learned an important lesson at a young age. If a woman does not have the right to control her own body, she is not truly equal. She is not truly free. Okay, well, that's definitely in line with a lot of women's rights activists. That's what they had to feel was a really great sentiment. Except just a couple days later, it turned out that he was beating the shit out of his girlfriends.
Wow.
Like, bad. So two of these ladies who got victimized, Michelle Manning Barish, and I hope I pronounce this right because I've only read it in print. I have not heard it pronounced. Tanya Selvaratnam. I'm going to say it's Selvaratnam. Tanya Selvaratnam. But yeah, they're very courageous for coming forward, and they talked to the New Yorker, the magazine. There were 4 victims that came forward, only 2 that agreed to be named. I totally understand. There's my wife bringing me more beer. Thank you very much, dear. I totally understand if you don't want to be named because some of the threats that are levied against these ladies that we'll talk about. There's outgoing beer there. Don't edit that out, Jericho. Anyway, so yeah, these 2 ladies come forward. Actually, 4 ladies come forward. 2 of them agree to be named. We're going to read you the account of Miss Barish, Michelle Manning Barish. This was printed in the New Yorker magazine. So she says, about 4 weeks after they became physically involved, Schneiderman grew violent. One night, they're in the bedroom of his Upper West Side apartment, still clothed, but getting ready for bed and lightly baiting each other. As she recalls it, he called her, quote, a whore. And she didn't like this, so she talked back. They had both been drinking, and her recollection of the rest of the conversation is blurry, but the events that happened next remain vivid. Schneiderman, she says, backed her up to the edge of the bed, and this is Barish, quote here, all of a sudden he just slapped me, open hand with great force across the face, landing the blow directly onto my ear. It was horrendous. It just came out of nowhere. My ear was ringing. I lost my balance. I lost my balance and fell backward onto the bed. I sprang up. But at this point there was very little room between the bed and him. I got up to try to shove him back or take a swing, and he pushed me back down. He then used his body weight to hold me down and began to choke me. The choking was very hard, really bad. I kicked. In every fiber, I felt I was being beaten by a man. Now, Miss Barish, the reason you felt you were being beaten by a man is because you were being beaten by a man. This man was beating the hell out of you. Now, this is one of the reasons why #MeToo needs to exist, is because, like it or not, men and women deserve equal rights, but men and women are not the same. We are equal, but we are not the same. And what I mean by that is that even though my wife works out all the time and tries to stay fit, and I work out like never, I am so much stronger than her. And if we got into a fight, I could kick my wife's ass. And like 90% of men, that is true. You could kick your wife's ass because you're just stronger than she is, because men are just stronger than women. And that's why it is so wrong to take advantage of women. And it's definitely wrong to just haul off and slap women in the face when you call her a whore and she doesn't like it. What a piece of human filth. What a piece of garbage. Apparently she had to go to an ear, nose, and throat specialist a couple weeks later, and he had to remove some like scab material from her ear because she was still having bleeding. He had perforated her eardrum with this shot. And she, of course, was ashamed at the time she went to the doctor, so she lied to the doctor and said that she had hurt her eardrum cleaning with a Q-tip. That's one of the really crappy things when women get abused. Often, like, because of societal pressures, women feel like it's their fault when they get abused. Ladies, if any ladies are watching this show, I'm amazed that you're able to stare at my face for this long. Thank you for that. And if you are getting abused by a man, you don't deserve that shit. It is not your fault. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Get the help that you need. Get away from that situation, please. Let Miss Barish's courage in coming forward and talking about this matter bolster you and help you get out of that situation. And then I say that it's courageous of these ladies to come forward, not only because of that built-in shame and pressure that we put against women, but also because this guy is the Attorney General of the state of New York. You know, probably one of the top 1,000 most powerful people in the country, essentially. And he threatened these women, saying that I could have you wiretapped, I can get you prosecuted, or I could get you killed if you leave me.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is a guy that's saying he's a women's rights advocate that is beating women, passing it off as some kind of sexual role play to which they did not consent, and then coming out and saying that he is an advocate for women. What a piece of filth. So, Eric Schneiderman, congratulations. You're the winner of this week's Sexual Harassment Extravaganza. I hope something bad happens to you. I hope you stub your toe on every piece of furniture you ever encounter in prison.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like to wish violence and ill will on people, but I will pray for people to have horrible diarrhea, which I hope he gets in prison.
Yeah, I don't actually want bad things to happen to people, but I do want justice to happen to this person. He's already resigned in disgrace. Within 3 hours of this article coming out on the New Yorker, he resigned. And then he said, he called them allegations, and it's because I can't be an effective leader with these allegations hanging over my head. Bullshit, you did it. There's 4 women all telling the same story and none of them knew each other. You freaking did it.
Right.
So I hope you go to trial, and I hope you get convicted of these terrible crimes you perpetrated against women. And I definitely hope that you never work in any kind of government office or any place where you have power over anyone ever again, or are alone with a woman ever again, because you don't deserve it, and those women don't deserve to be subjected to you.
Word.
Yeah, and that's all I have to say about that. So, just one more time, I want to give a big thanks to Charter Spectrum for sponsoring our podcast. Not really. They don't actually give me any money, folks. That's a joke, because I hate them. I hate Charter Spectrum. So thanks for your support of the show and for making my uploads as slow and painful as they could possibly be. Thank you to Jericho Keene, our volunteer editor, who gets paid exactly the same amount of money as Joshua and I do. That is
Thanks, Jericho!
$0. He does the editing, we do the on-air content, and we all get paid the same amount, which is nothing. Thank you very much, Jericho. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I really appreciate you watching. Josh, I appreciate you being here. So for my good friend Josh Burkett, I am Ken Bone, and I approve this sweater.